What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today, let's talk about fighting from your vehicle. Some little tips and tricks that I've learned along the way that'll maybe help you if you ever find yourself in this situation. Okay, so what's going on in the world today with all the, craziness going on and all the big cities kind of letting everybody get away with whatever they want. Let's go over just some tips and tricks that I have learned throughout my 20 plus years of carrying a gun professionally, and maybe hopefully you can learn something, or maybe you can drop a comment and pass on something to me. All right, so first things first, situational awareness, right? If this is your vehicle, you're driving it, you want to always have your seatbelt on, not just because it's the law, but because it can actually, protect you. But B, you want to do certain things, like when you roll up to a stop sign, you always want to give yourself an out. Well, what does that mean? That means you don't want to be nut to butt with the car in front of you. You always want to be back a little bit. That way, if something does happen, you can go left or you can go right. You can get yourself out of the situation, okay? Another thing is, you always want to make sure you're looking around at your surroundings, okay? Always checking your mirrors, always kind of looking around. Not only looking around for other drivers that suck at driving, but looking around for some crazy shit that may be happening. 99% of the time, something that happens, there's going to be, a precursor to that. You're going to see something that comes out of that. Carjacking, maybe there's an accident, you hear sirens and cops behind you, police are chasing somebody, that guy crashes out and then he wants your vehicle. There's a thousand scenarios out there, but first and foremost, 99% of the time you're going to be able to see it coming, okay? A road rage incident, before that dude gets out of his truck, or that girl, and comes over and starts yelling at you and wanting to fight and this, that, and the other, something else had happened. They ran you off the road, you ran them off the road, something. So if that happens, then you find yourself at the next stoplight or the Walmart parking lot or what have you with that person or those people, then hey, something might happen, especially if you're at a stoplight and you see them, slam their car into park and they freak out and they're throwing their seatbelt off and they open the door, something may happen, right? So what do you do, right? Well, if you're one of those people that likes to carry a gun on you, then let's go over that real quick, all right? There's, a couple different ways to carry a gun on you when you're in a vehicle, right? Today we're just going to be talking about the old pistola. For me, my everyday carry is a Glock 43, right? With RMR, I have a little comp on there. The Streamlight TLR6, not the best flashlight in the world, but it's better than nothing. It is clear, just so you guys, all you Nazis out there. It's better than nothing, right? I love it because it's a really small package. I can wear just about any shirt and you're never gonna be able to see it, all right? Now, there's dudes out there, they'll run a full-size Glock 19, right? And they run it just fine and they like it. This thing, after wearing this Glock 43, this thing seems fucking huge. So I've kind of gone away from carrying this as my everyday carry. Got the Glock 43 and man, that thing I love it. So today we'll be working primarily with this SIRT weapon, right? Just a little laser gun. See if I can show you guys. Can you see that or no? A little bit. Okay. Just a laser gun. It's just a training gun, right? So let's go over how you carry in the car. Okay. Different states have different laws as far as what is considered concealed carry and what is not. Okay, so right here, I have, pretty much an appendix carry. I carry this way most of the time. when I'm walking around. So I carry this way in my vehicle as well. It's easy to get to, it's easy to draw from. You know, if I need to take shots here, up front, wherever, it's easy to get to and it's easy to draw from, all right? Now, the bad part about carrying an appendix whilst you're driving is twofold. One, I'm kind of pointing at everything down here, right? And number two, when I put on the old seatbelt, then this kind of gets in the way, right? So you can do a couple things. One, you can do this number, right? You can also do this number, and you can also do this number, okay? This is probably the preferred method of driving around carrying appendix. Why? Because your seatbelt is still there to protect you, but it's behind the gun. It's not gonna get in the way of, you know, helping you if you do get in a car wreck, but it's also not hindering your weapon. And if you pull your shirt out and throw it over, then you're still concealed, right? So you can just lift up your shirt, draw your weapon, do whatever you gotta do, okay? So that's just a few things, right? Obviously you can carry your gun behind you, you know? If you're left-handed, if you're wrong-handed, well, I don't know what to do for you guys. You guys are weird. But seriously, you can, I mean, obviously it'd just be the difference from right here. You can do the same thing if you're carrying appendix. If you're wearing it at, you know, the 5 o'clock or the 7 o'clock, then, you know, if at the 5 o'clock, when you come over here, your seatbelt won't get in the way. Left-handed over here, you know, your seatbelt probably won't get in the way either over there. I've never carried it that way, so I've never practiced that way. Or you can do the thing where you stage your weapon, because if you're on like a super long road trip and you don't want to carry your gun appendix or in your pants because it gets uncomfortable, and you stage it, let's say you have a holster, whatever, right there, you know, where you just put your gun right there and you can draw it out if you need it. That would be the bestest way, but most people aren't going to do that. Most people don't have an extra holster. If you guys got that holster that you see on social media that has like a magnet here, and then you have to jam it forward to rack around and then take it off the magnet to get it in the fight, you're an idiot, and please don't watch my channel. But so all those are options. Today we're just going to work on the appendix carry, right? Because again, that's what I carry most of the time, and I think that's what, you know, most people I know carry it that way. Most people that I work with carry it that way. So it's one of those kind of all-encompassing things that I think most people do. All right, so get the old seatbelt on. Let's get it all squared away. Okay, so like I said, situational awareness. Situational awareness. First things first. Don't get into a gunfight. That's number one rule. Number one rule, do not get into a gunfight. Why? Because if we look at the 4 fundamentals of firearms, one of the fundamentals says, know your target and what's beyond. If you are in a car, more than likely what is beyond is other cars, other people driving, other people just trying to go get groceries, gas stations, Taco Bells, things of that nature that are in the way. So number one rule, don't get into a gunfight in a car. Number 2 rule, if you can leave, then leave, all right? If you can drive out of it, remember that, go left, go right type of deal. If you can drive out of the situation, then drive out of it, all right? It's always best to avoid getting in a firefight than it is to be in a firefight. The only people that tell you to be in a firefight are people that have never been shot at, that have never seen their buddies get shot, that have never been shot at while in a vehicle. Thank God Humvees have bulletproof glass, because when I had my Humvee in Iraq back in the day, a sniper shot right at my Humvee and it shot dead center in my face, right in the window. So it's one of those things that, you know, unless you've been there and done that, you don't know how shitty it really is, all right? So let's say you're at the stoplight, you did not leave that reactionary gap, therefore you cannot go anywhere, you're just stuck. Somehow, for some reason, the dude either in front of you or behind you, let's say he's in front of you, because most of the time, bad guys are either come from the front or from either side, all right? So let's say it's gonna come from the front. You guys got into a road rage incident where somebody pissed somebody off. Now this dude's gonna wanna come and talk to you, okay? When that situation happens and you can't leave, make sure your windows are up and your doors are locked, all right? You do not want to give him the opportunity to breach this, all right? Granted, it's just a window and it's just glass and it can break very easily, but it's still a barrier, all right? If the guy wants to, he can obviously break your window. But if he doesn't, if he's just peacocking, if he's just trying to show off how tough he really is, he's not gonna break the window, which is good for you, right? So if this, let's say this dude comes over and he's pounding on your car, that does not give you the authorization to shoot this guy. And I don't believe in any state, all right? So if he's freaking out in your car, let him freak out a little bit. Whatever, dude, freak out, I don't care. Now, the second that he breaches the glass, he breaks the glass, or he is able to open a door, or he pulls out a weapon of his own and threatens to kill you with it or something like that, and you feel that your life is in danger, and that's the key here. If you feel that your life is in danger, then you obviously always have the right to protect yourself, okay? So, guy comes from the front, right? If we're carrying appendix, obviously, you know, he does his thing, whatever. Now let's say guy pulls a gun, all right? We get clear garment, get a good grip, pull out. Now here, what are we doing? Are we coming like this and hitting the steering wheel? Well, that would suck, right? Are we bringing it up and shooting at a compressed ready? Well, that's not a very good thing unless you have to do it. So what we can do, one of the things that I got taught was you pull it out. When you pull it out, you trace the steering wheel, right? This works for right-handed or left-handed folks, okay? You trace the steering wheel up, and then you can get the gun into a fight, okay? Rule of thumb, you always want to have two hands on your gun if possible to get into that fight, okay? Boom, boom, boom. Glass, shooting through glass. I have not shot through glass a lot, but I have done it. I can tell you from my experience, usually the first round will deviate a little bit, and the rest of the rounds are pretty on point, depending how far away the target is. If the target's like right next to you, then all your rounds are gonna be good to go. All right, if the target's farther away, that's when it's gonna deviate. And from shooting inside, from shooting outside in, they all deviate a little bit different, all right? Just know that when you get your gun into this fight and when you press that trigger, it gets really shitty inside the car, okay? It gets really loud. The gas stays in here. You'll have a little bit of spall, you know, the little micro glass beads coming out, right? Life kind of sucks a little bit. You just know that. But if your life is in jeopardy, then who gives a shit, right? So, pull gun, right? Boom, get in a fight, trace the steering wheel up, and it's easy to do. You just trace the steering wheel up, boom. You can always, now, the people will tell you not to do this because under stress, you'll blah, blah, blah. You can always bring the gun up and punch it straight out, right? If you know that you're not gonna punch into your steering wheel, if you know that you're not gonna hit the steering wheel, whatever, then you can do that if you're, you know, confident in your skills. Let's just say that. These are just things that were taught to me quite a while ago. It kind of goes down the progressive state. Like, you know, if you have a pistol, you always want to trace this. You don't want to do this. You don't want to ever do this. The shitty fact of the matter is, at some point in time, you're going to do that, right? There is always the right way and always the wrong way, but never an absolute way. And every situation is different. You know, maybe one time I'm able to do this and it works just great. One time I get flustered and it goes like this and I fuck it up. Maybe one time I go like this and it works great. Maybe one time I go like this and it hits the steering wheel and turns, you know. Murphy's Law is out there and it's possible. What I'm saying is, don't take anything that I say or anything any instructor says and take that to the bank and say that that's the only way you can do it, because that's fucking bullshit. There is 1,000 ways, you know, to do things. Nobody's way is necessarily better than another way, and nobody's way is necessarily wrong, okay? You can take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and make your own little Cheerios and be good to go, right? So if they're coming from the front, trace the steering wheel or punch straight out, right? Like I said, you just keep the sights on target, and you pull trigger. I had to take a quick pause. The sun is actually too hot right now, and the iPhone and the GoPro are not having a great time. So, all right, so we covered if they're coming from the front, right? If they're coming from the side, again, these are just a couple tips and techniques. They're not the only way, they're just a way, all right? Let's go driver's side, because that's gonna be more than likely where they're coming from, front or driver's side, because they probably want to carjack you, right? Again, situational awareness. If you see them coming from your side view mirror, from the front, from your rear view, what have you, all right, you'd be able to move and escape. If you cannot do that, and your only course of action is to pull your firearm, then you need to, A, make sure your life is in danger, B, make sure you know your target and what is beyond, because you don't want to throw any rounds out there and have them hit somebody else that it's not intended to do, right? So, guys here, let's say guy breaches something, he breaks window or whatever, right? I clear garment, I pull gun out, okay? When I pull the gun, I can do a couple things, right? I clear garment like this, pull gun, I keep my hand right here, I can kind of turn, just a little turn, right? And I keep the butt of the gun on my chest. From here, I can shoot right here pretty comfortably, and I know that I'm gonna hit the target. I know I'm not gonna hit my truck. I know I'm not gonna hit, anything else but my intended target, because he's so close to me, right? It's good to make sure you keep your hand here, because if your hand comes out here and you accidentally shoot your arm, that would suck a lot. You don't wanna do that, okay? But here, really here, you also, what you don't wanna do is present the gun out here to give him a chance to grab your gun. That's a bad day. We don't wanna do that. So, if we leave it here, then he has to come in my world and then to get the gun, right? If he does, let's say he does break out the window and he's trying to reach in, you can always lean back a little bit more. You can always grab his arm and kind of pin him down while you shoot him, right? But again, if you go like this, he can always grab you and pull you out of the vehicle, and you don't want to do that, okay? Passenger side, very similar. Clear the garment. From here, you're just gonna lean this way. Depends on whether or not you have a passenger. If you do not have a passenger, obviously, you can come up and pull straight out, and you can handle business that way, right? If you do have a passenger, that's when shit gets weird, okay? If you're the only one in the vehicle with a gun and knows how to handle yourself, then you're kind of at a loss, and you have to be able to do what you can do, right? There's two ways. Let's do this. There's basically two ways to handle passenger. Let's say this is passenger, right? You can either when you come out like this, you can pin them to the seat, okay? By pinning them to the seat, they obviously see your gun. You're giving out verbal commands, you're telling them things to do, right? Hopefully this person is either a friend or a family member, and they know what to do when the situation happens. You've gone through that, you've talked to them about it. If you do have to point your gun, hopefully they know that if your gun's in their face, then they need to fucking shut the fuck up and kind of lay back and let you handle the situation, right? You can pin them to the seat. The good thing about this is they can see the gun, they can see what you're doing. They're probably not gonna fight you too much about what you're doing, right? They may be like, oh my God, or whatever, but that's the shitty thing. The shitty thing is when you do shoot, brass may be going in their face, they may be doing one of these numbers, okay? Small price to pay if somebody's trying to fucking kill you, right? Other option, if you're right-handed and you bring the gun up, now, this is another controversial topic, and I don't fucking know why. You bring the gun up, you can go to a temple index, right? Where you basically keep the gun here. It's in a safe spot. It's going up. It's not going at anybody else. A safe spot, you can grab them and then push them down. Tell them to stay down while you're holding them down with one hand, and then you get your gun in the fight. The bad things about that is one person doesn't know what's going on. Their tendency, when you shove them down on the floorboard, their tendency is to get back up, right? So if they don't know what's going on, they're trying to get back up, then you're just fighting them. You end up fighting them, right? Again, hopefully maybe you've gone over this with your family members or your significant others, and they know that, hey, if I tell you to get the fuck down and I pull my gun and you hear me yelling things at you like get the fuck down, they're gonna stay down, right? 2 different techniques. You can kind of try them both and then see what you like. You can get a cert gun, you can get a blue gun, anything like that to train with. You know, obviously I don't recommend training with a real gun if you have your family members around. However, if that's all you got, that's all you got. Just make sure you do it very safely, right? Okay, so the only bad part about this is you have the seatbelt here that is stopping you, right, from really doing things. So you might have to clear garment, temple index, seatbelt off, get the fuck down, and then get your gun into the fight. That's a lot of steps. It's a whole bunch of steps, other from just going, you know, clearing it, boom, and then punching it out, okay? Again, 2 different techniques, you gotta try them both. All right, now, if a guy comes from back right into the passenger area, let's do this, right? Back right into passenger area, you, again, it's not an ideal situation if you're the only dude with a gun, right? If you're the only person with a gun, you clear garment, pull up gun, and then you can post up right here, right? Now, if you're the only one in your vehicle, this is not bad, okay? You're here, get the fuck out of here, what do you want? You know, whatever. If you have to take care of the threat, you take care of the threat, right? Now, if you have passengers, I know my oldest teenage son rides in that seat all the time, okay? So, if I pull my gun out, and he's like, ah, gets scared, right? Is he gonna flag himself in front of the gun while I have it extended over here? I don't know, right? But this goes along with the techniques that we just showed up here. Is one, if I have a lot of room back there and I can't even reach him to put his head down, then I have to clear seatbelt. I have to jump in the back seat, shove his head down, then while my gun is up here, then present my gun out to the target, all right? It's a lot of steps, and now you're fighting with a teenager that's screaming at you while your wife is probably screaming at you, while your other kids are screaming at you, while your dog is barking. It's gonna be a fucking hell of a lot of shit to go through, right? And the other techniques is you clear it up, you tell your family member, whoever it is, you know, stay still, don't fucking move, you know, and you're right here, right? If I'm right here against this seat, okay, that is probably a good 3 to 4 feet that they have back there behind or to the side of my gun, right? From here, I can kind of angle where I need to angle, where I can go in the back or the front or just in the middle of the window, and I can take care of most targets, right? Again, it's just another thing is if they see your gun out there, they see what you're doing, and you're also yelling at them, don't fucking move, and then you're yelling at the guy that right there, hopefully then they get the hint and they don't move. But jumping back there, throwing them down, you know, it's just 2 different techniques. See, it's getting hot again. Woohoo! That's scalding. Scalding hot. All right, so last but not least, guy coming from back left, okay? You got your seatbelt on. Guy comes from back left. Hopefully you'll see him and you'll be like, what the fuck? And you can just take off your seatbelt, right? Boom. If you need to crack your door, you can crack your door and you can handle it. Or you can drive away, right? With all of these, with every situation, like I said before, 99% of the time you're gonna be able to see them come, right? You're gonna be able to see it and spot it before it's happening. And if you can do that, what you can do is alert your passengers. Hey, there's a fucking guy coming up with a fucking gun. You know, if you can do that, then hey, get the fuck down, hit the deck, right? Get on the fucking floorboard. And if you can tell them all to do that, get the fuck down. And you can, you know, put one hand on, get the fuck down. And then you can, you know, then you can prep and then you can stage. Like if my son's down there and I tell him and he knows what's going on, then I can stage this. Then I can be like, all right, I'm ready for this motherfucker, you know? It's just all about, you know, proper planning, right? Proper planning is going over and rehearsing with all your people that are riding with you on a regular basis. So they know, you know, like everybody knows that I carry a gun. Everybody knows what my verbiage that I use when it happens, right? It's happened one time. Without going into a lot of detail, this dude was super pissed at me because I didn't let him out of a parking lot, I think it was, something like that. And we were getting out of a movie. I didn't even see him get super mad. Actually, my wife saw him get super mad, jumped out of his car or some shit. I didn't really know what was going on, because when I'm trying to drive, you know, when you get out of a movie, there's 1,000 cars. So I'm trying to drive with 1,000 cars. This guy apparently had gotten mad at me for whatever reason. He came up, and I look over, and he's fucking, I look over for whatever reason, I see a guy point his hand out his window very fast, and then I heard a loud thump, right? I initially thought this dude fucking just shot my truck. So what I did was I pulled my gun, I pinned my wife to the seat, and I just stared at this dude until I realized that he didn't have a gun in his hand, right? After the fact, this guy, he saw my gun and he just fucking took off. He was scared shitless after that. I honestly thought he shot my truck. I checked to make sure everybody was okay, blah, blah, blah. My wife, after the fact, when we got back home, we were talking about it. She said that what I did happened so quick that I had my gun out, had her pinned against the seat, and I was, you know, reacting so fast that she was like, I just fucking sat there. I didn't have any idea what the fuck was going on. She's like, I heard the noise, I didn't know what it was, and then all of a sudden I got a gun in my face and you're fucking telling me to shut the fuck up. And my kids in the back didn't even fucking realize what happened. They had no clue. And it wasn't that I'm some quick draw McGraw, I'm not Jerry Michulik or anything like that. I've just trained this a lot, and I am pretty proficient at what I do, and I know that it's just a natural reaction. I can come up, boom, and then I got my gun in the fight, and then I'm ready to go. It's not one of those things where I gotta do the shirt, do the gun, tip an index, because if you're doing all that shit robotic, then you've probably never done it in real life. Every real instructor that I've ever gone to, a very good example is like Pat McNamara, a former Delta Force guy. When somebody asks him, what are the 4 motions to a fucking draw? He goes, you put your hand on the gun and then you get your gun in the fight. Like, you go like this and then you go like this. You're like, yeah, but how do you bring up your eye? He's like this. And they're like, what do you mean? He goes, I grab the gun and I bring it up. There's no secret sauce out there. You grab your gun, you bring it up, and you get into a fight, right? There's different methods for everybody. Again, like the tracing the steering wheel or the punching it straight out. It's just different strokes for different folks, right? So, in general, pistol, biggest thing, be self-aware, be aware of your surroundings, know your target and what's beyond it. If you can avoid the fight, fucking avoid the fight at all costs. Leave that reactionary gap so you can leave if need be. You can jump a curb, you can drive over those little fucking painted lines on the road, and I swear to God you can. You can do all that stuff and it'll be okay. It'll be much better for you to fight another day and maybe call the cops and be like, hey, this fucking crazy fuck just did this, as opposed to shooting him, missing, shooting a kid, hitting a Taco Bell, hitting an old lady, and now you gotta deal with it. Okay, real quick, I know the AC's on, my fucking phone just got too hot, so real quick, if you have a long gun, most people don't carry long guns when they're driving around, but let's just pretend you did, right? The only real difference is when you get one, always pin your long gun somewhere so the thing's not jumping around your car, right? Most people pin them right to the inboard between their seat and their console. If you don't have a big console, then you know you're seating somewhere else. That's the general place almost everybody puts their weapon, right? If you need to get engaged, right? Obviously, I don't have my Slink keeper on here right now. Usually I have a keeper on here. I just pulled it out real quick. Pull your gun out. You can go over your shoulder like this and then punch your gun out like this, okay? You can use your steering wheel as a rest if you need to, but boom, boom, okay? Same goes with over there, boom, boom, point it out. This window, if you have to and you gotta lean way back to get the gun in the fight, then that's fine. More than likely, if you're pulling your rifle out, then shit's kind of gone awry, and maybe you're out of pistol rounds, or you're just in a really, really bad neighborhood, then you might want to rethink how you're fucking driving in the first place, all right? Or where you're driving. But again, you do have a rifle here. The only situation I can see if I ever pulled a rifle out, which I do have a truck gun, more along the lines of a riot, like all the BLM riots and stuff, that would be the only time. And my truck gun is it's a 7.5 inch barrel, so it's real short, and I can keep that thing right here, and I can kind of maneuver it anywhere I wanted to. All right. Other than that, down and dirty on how to fight from your driver's seat. Again, first things first, don't get in a gunfight. Do everything to avoid it, right? Maybe next time we'll go over how to exit a vehicle, or if you are pinned down, how to get out of a vehicle. Other than that, always ask yourself, are you an asset or a liability?